Welcome to the Dynamics of Everyday Life, where we demystify some tricky concepts and get to know ourselves a little bit better. Welcome back to the show, everyone. Now, my titles and episodes aim to be what's known as evergreen. That is, they don't relate to any particular time or date. I've done the odd Halloween or Christmas link, but realistically, they can be listened to at any time of the year. Likewise, I don't often pick up on what's happening in the news, and I am definitely not skipping up and down the yellow brick road of celebland. I mean, most of the time, I've no idea who these people are. Whenever they release the Strictly lineup for the upcoming season, I look at it and think, who are they? And what are they actually famous for? I'm often so oblivious to what's going on, I never notice any celebs when I'm out and about. So there's one very famous example. I walked behind David Tennant going into the Royal Albert Hall to see John Barrowman, if you're interested. And despite David Tennant being quite noticeable and distinctive, I was blissfully unaware. And like my best friend, who was doing frantic eye movements in her most subtle way to try and catch my attention and point this out. Anyway, the reason that I mention this is that for once, I am actually going to refer to something that's happened recently. If you're listening at the time of release, I'm sure you're aware of the Coldplay incident last week, where a couple were captured on the, I think it's called Jumbotron, who didn't want to be projected live onto the screen. Chris Martin, lead singer of Coldplay, makes some joke about them having an affair, and the internet absolutely exploded with this. Now, as I write/speak this, there's been no confirmation of an affair and nothing has been said from either person, apart from the company they work for investigating what's happened. I mean, apart from that, there's nothing else that's been confirmed in the public domain. And why should it? I mean, everything that's happened since that moment, apart from the company's HR protocols, have been whipped up by people beyond screens who don't know these people. They've no idea what's going on in their lives, and they've also no vested interest in this. It's actually nothing to do with anyone else, apart from the people involved. The internet has been absolutely wild with judgments, positively frothing at its cybermouth with excitement. But why? What's going on here? And I really toyed whether or not to do an episode on this, because I don't want to jump on the bandwagon. I think these people should actually be left alone to get on with things. And not one of us is perfect. So let's not cast judgments, especially when we don't know what's happening in their lives. So the angle that I'm taking is, why does this matter to us? Those of us who are watching this drama unfold like an episode of Love is Blind, and, I know that you watch it. Except, in this, no one agreed to be filmed, and the stakes here are people's livelihoods. There's a lot of rich psychodynamic material here. Buckle up, because this might make for some challenging listening. And guess what? There's quite a few defence mechanisms at play. If you've still got your defence mechanism bingo cards, time to get them out, as you'll be marking off quite a few. So first of all, we've got a bit of projection. Projection is where we split off our uncomfortable feelings and we put them somewhere else. A public scandal is ripe for this. I'd never do that, is what we say to ourselves, because in our minds, we wouldn't. We've disowned that part of ourselves and we've located it in other people. And because it's in someone else, we rail against it even more. It doesn't belong to us at that moment, so it's quite easy for us to show our displeasure. It's a lovely, safe place to put our difficult feelings. We're extremely unlikely to meet these people, so we don't feel awkward about it. And if everyone else is saying the same thing, then we can be incredibly self-righteous about this. It allows us to disown parts of ourselves. And this ties in neatly to the way that we often split celebrities. We have all done this. There are celebrities that we idolise, and even when it becomes clear that maybe they aren't perfect, we can struggle with this and maybe rationalise their behaviour. There are also celebrities that we vilify, ones that we really don't like. And it can feel quite personal, as if they've done something to harm us. I've got a quick example here. A few years ago, I went to Paris to watch the tennis in November. It's the ATP, not Roland Garros. And I was lucky enough to see Stan Wawrinka play, Stan being one of my favourites. He was beaten very narrowly with a tie-break by Holger Rune. Now, in my mind, Rune was really quite rude to Stan, and he was stomping up and down the court like a grumpy teenager. At the end of the match, Stan's believed to have told Rune to stop acting like a spoiled child. Now, this plays into my splitting beautifully. Stan can literally do no wrong, and Rune is a rude little teenager. Have I ever forgiven him for disrespecting my beloved Stan? No, of course I haven't. And this is a particularly satisfying one for me, as I'm never going to meet either of them, so I can do it at a distance, nice and safe. There's also quite a bit of displacement going on. Remember that displacement is where we move our difficult feelings from the object that causes us to feel uncomfortable to a safer place. I'm not saying it's right, but think about the kick the cat example. It's absolutely not okay to kick the cat, but probably feels safer than kicking your boss. So we can displace all our uncomfortable feelings, our rage, our upset, our disappointment, onto someone else. It's far safer than exploring or facing what's going on in our lives. You may feel anger or fury towards someone close to you, but it feels unsafe and scary to tell them how you feel or to express that anger. So it gets shifted onto people in the public gaze because they can't retaliate. We get to feel the feeling, but not about our stuff. Theatricality can also be seen as a defence against the reality of life. We can take up roles and perform, instead of being our true selves, a bit like Winnicott's idea of the false self that we construct to please other people. The two people involved in the incident were thrown onto the world stage without expecting to be or asking to be, and we've given them roles. We've made them players in a drama and decided that we are the audience. And yet, it isn't for us to sit and spectate what happens next. By putting these people into the limelight, we've put the spotlight on them and away from ourselves. And as the audience, we have the relative safety of the group. We can retreat into being unknown and push all our difficult feelings out onto other people, who either chose to be in the spotlight, or in the case in question, didn't. My invitation to you this week is for you to consider where in your life you've been focusing on other people instead of yourself. What are you possibly avoiding thinking about or exploring? Another angle to look at is, what roles have you been performing to keep yourself from reality? Did you choose them, or were they given to you? And how much do they work for you? And, as always, give yourself some grace. It's not easy to realise that the fun we've been having looking at someone else's downfall says as much, if not more, about us than it does about them. And before we close, I just want to share with you a couple of things that are coming up. So in early September, I'm doing a webinar with Scott Warren about our defence mechanisms, how they come into play when we're thinking about pricing. That's always a difficult topic for us coaches. Definitely worth coming on to that. That's on, like I say, it's on LinkedIn. Also, my course, Essential Psychodynamics for Coaches, starts again in September. I absolutely loved the first round. It was fantastic. I had a fabulous group of coaches with lots of learning and discussions. There's already people joining up now, so if you don't want to miss out, come and join the wonderful coaches that have already signed up for some psychodynamic fun. Send me a DM or an email and we can have a chat about this. And looking at ourselves at this level can be challenging and unnerving as we develop our awareness, so I'd always encourage that you do this at your own speed. If you feel you need some extra help around this, then I've put together a PDF resource sheet and you can find the link for this in the show notes. If you'd like to have a chat with me about psychodynamics or whether I'm the right coach, supervisor, mentor or trainer for you, then click on the link that's also in the show notes. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Dynamics of Everyday Life. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. As well as producing this podcast, the Dynamics of Everyday Life has lots more psychodynamic fun going on, and you can find out more at dynamicsofeveryday.life.